Arjun Kumar was born in a small town tucked away between dry hills and sunburnt plains. The streets were narrow, coated with dust that clung to clothes and hair. His family lived in a one-room house with tin walls that rattled when the wind blew. His father worked as a cycle repairman, while his mother stitched clothes for neighbors. Arjun grew up knowing scarcity as a companion. Dinner was sometimes a plate of rice with salt water, yet his mother would always smile, saying, "We are rich, Arjun, because we have love." But as a boy, he often wondered, is love enough? Why do some people live in mansions while others barely survive? Can I ever become one of the rich? He had two visions of richness. One was the kind he saw in newspapers, where businessmen posed beside shiny cars. The other was the richness in his mother's laughter even when life was cruel. That conflict stayed in him as a fire. Chapter 2. The Dream. At age 14, Arjun worked after school in a local tea stall. He wiped tables, carried cups, and listened to conversations. He noticed something. The richest customers rarely talked about tea, but about opportunity. They spoke of investments, risks, ideas, and failures. One evening, a well-dressed man forgot his notebook on the table. Arjun picked it up and saw pages filled with numbers, charts, and ideas. The last line on the page read, "Riches begin in the mind before they reach the pocket." That sentence hit him like lightning. From that day forward, Arjun promised himself, "I will learn everything I can about money, but I will never forget my mother's lesson about love." Chapter 3. Struggles and Sacrifices. He studied by streetlight because electricity often failed. He borrowed books, taught himself accounting, and practiced writing business ideas in old notebooks. His friends teased him, "Arjun thinks he'll be a millionaire with his scribbles." He ignored them. After finishing school, he wanted to attend college, but fees were too high. His father said with regret, "We cannot afford this dream." Arjun looked at his parents' tired faces and made a bold choice. He would move to the city and work while studying at night. Chapter 4. The City of Iron and Glass. The city was overwhelming, towering glass buildings, neon lights, endless traffic. Arjun got a job sweeping floors in a textile factory. The pay was low, but he saved every coin. At night, he enrolled in an evening commerce class. For 4 years, he lived like this, working by day, studying by night, sleeping barely 4 hours. Loneliness gnawed at him, hunger tested him, and rejection often broke his spirit. Yet, he repeated to himself, riches begin in the mind before they reach the pocket. Chapter 5. The First Spark. After graduation, Arjun noticed something at the factory. Waste cloth was thrown away in heaps. He had an idea. What if he collected these scraps and stitched them into usable bags? He convinced 2 coworkers to join him. They worked late nights, stitching bags, and selling them at the morning market. At first, people laughed. Who will buy bags made from garbage? But slowly, shopkeepers and students began buying. The bags were cheap, durable, and eco-friendly. That was the first spark. Within 2 years, his little bag business grew into a small company. He hired workers, rented a workshop, and printed a name, New Leaf Creations. For the first time in his life, he wasn't counting every coin. Chapter 6. Losing it all. But success has its storms. Competitors copied his idea. Suppliers raised prices. One bad investment in a faulty machine drained his savings. A flood destroyed half his workshop. Within a year, the business collapsed. Arjun found himself sitting on the pavement, staring at a closed shutter with his company's faded name. He had lost everything. For weeks, he considered giving up. He thought of returning to his village, defeated. But then his mother's voice echoed in his memory. Richness is not what you have in your hand, but what you carry in your heart. He realized he still had knowledge, skills, and resilience. He could start again. Chapter 7. Rising Again. Arjun joined a marketing firm to understand branding. He learned how companies built empires not just with products, but with stories. He read about global entrepreneurs, studied financial management, and networked relentlessly. With renewed courage, he started a new venture, a textile recycling company. Instead of just making bags, he created a process to recycle cloth waste into usable fabric. His idea attracted investors because it combined business with sustainability. This time, he didn't repeat past mistakes. He built teams, documented processes, and reinvested profits. Within 5 years, his company became one of the largest suppliers of recycled fabric in the region. Chapter 8. The Mansion and the Mirror. By the time Arjun turned 35, he owned cars he once only saw in magazines, a mansion on the city's outskirts, and wealth beyond his childhood imagination. But one night, walking through the marble halls of his mansion, he felt a strange emptiness. He had money, but he rarely saw his parents. He had employees, but few true friends. He had riches, but no peace. Standing before a mirror, he asked himself, am I truly rich? Or just wealthy? Chapter 9. Rediscovering Richness. Arjun began visiting his village again. He funded the repair of the school, built a library, and sponsored scholarships for children. He created a program to teach financial literacy to farmers. The joy he saw in others filled the emptiness in his heart. His parents, now living comfortably, reminded him, real wealth is when your success uplifts others. He realized something profound. Money creates comfort, but meaning creates richness. Chapter 10. The Turning Point. At 42, Arjun was invited to speak at a global conference. On stage, he told his story, the dusty streets, the tea stall, the failures, and the successes. He ended with these words. Being rich is not about the mansion you live in, but about the lives you enrich. Wealth without purpose is like a tree without roots. True richness is when your money, your time, and your heart work together to make the world better. The audience gave him a standing ovation. For Arjun, that moment mattered more than his first million. Chapter 11. The Legacy. In the years that followed, Arjun built not just businesses, but legacies. He started foundations for education, healthcare, and environmental sustainability. He mentored young entrepreneurs, reminding them that wealth is a tool, not a trophy. When asked how he wanted to be remembered, he said, not as the man who became rich, but as the man who showed others that they already are. Epilogue. The Richest Man. Arjun Kumar died peacefully at the age of 83. Thousands attended his funeral, workers, students, villagers, leaders, and strangers whose lives he had touched. On his gravestone, the words were simple. Here lies a man who proved that the richest life is lived in service of others. And thus, the boy from the dusty streets became the richest man of all.